Meadow Mystery Crochet Along Part 7. Now that we are done with the main head and the body, now we are moving on to the detailing. We'll be using white yarn over here. So first start off with making a slip knot, and then we will proceed with a chain 2. Insert the hook into the second chain from the hook, and then proceed to do 3 single crochet stitches in the same stitch. That is basically round 1. For round 2, single crochet 2 stitches followed by an increase of 1 stitch. For round 3, single crochet 3 stitches and then increase of 1 stitch to get a total of 5 stitches in the round. For round 4, single crochet 3 stitches and then increase in the next 2 stitches to get a total of 7 stitches in the round. For round 5, we will start off with a decrease of 2 stitches first. So insert into the front loops only and then do an invisible decrease. This is the first set, and then after that we will replace the stitch marker at the start of the round. And then the second decrease in the round. Like I mentioned before, if it's difficult to work invisible decrease, you can just go ahead and do a standard decrease. A standard single crochet decrease is fine as well. So we are still trying to get the second decrease in the round, and then after we have pulled through the second decrease, then we will continue with single crochet of 1 stitch, and then increase. This is the single crochet 1 stitch, and then after that increase in the last 2 stitches of round 5. For round 6, decrease in the first 2 stitches. It's very similar to the previous round. Decrease in the first 2 stitches, followed by single crochet 1 stitch, and then an increase in the last 2 stitches of round 6. You can see that we have now completed 1 curved horn. Now repeat the entire pattern for a second set to make a second horn and leave a long tail for sewing for both sides. Position the horns facing inwards just inside of both ears, like so. Thread a darning needle, thread the yarn through the darning needle, and then proceed to use whip stitch to sew down the horn on the inside of the ear. Remember to position it such that the horn is facing inwards. After you're done with one side, repeat for the other side symmetrically. You can see that the horns are done and sewn on, and they're both facing inwards, and they're on the inside of both ears. Now we are moving on to the fringe detailing using brown yarn. Start off with brown yarn and slip knot first. Then start with a chain of 5. Work into the second chain from the hook and then proceed to do a single crochet of 1 stitch and then chain 15. Then single crochet 14 stitches down the chain that we just made. Then slip stitch 1 into the same main chain that we started with at the beginning. Continue down the initial chain and then proceed to do a single crochet of 1 stitch again. Then chain 7 this time, which is a shorter chain than the previous one, and then proceed to single crochet 9 stitches down the chain. Then slip stitch 1 into the same main chain. Repeat this process of single crochet 1 stitch and then chain 10 and then single crochet 9 stitches down, and then finally ending off with a slip stitch of 1 stitch into the same main chain, which is much like what we did for the previous set that we did. Finally, work into the last chain with a single crochet of 1 stitch, and this time we are making a longer chain with a chain of 15. Then similarly single crochet 14 down and then slip stitch 1 into the same main chain. You can see that one side of the fringe is done here. Now continue with working into the other side of the foundation chain where we'll be making the fringe on the other side. Work into the same last chain, single crochet 1 and then chain 15 again. Then single crochet 14 stitches down and then slip stitch into the same main chain like what we did previously for the other side. Then continue with single crochet 1 stitch and then chain 10, and then single crochet 9 stitches down, and then end off with a slip stitch of 1 stitch into the same main chain like we did for the other side. Repeat another set of single crochet 1 stitch, chain 10 and single crochet 9 stitches down, and then slip stitch into 1 into the same main chain. Then finally in the last chain, work single crochet 1 stitch, chain 15, and then single crochet 14 stitches down. You can see here that I have actually single crochet 14 stitches down, and then we're ending off the last few chains, and then we will end off with a slip stitch of 1 stitch in the same main chain. See, end off the last part of the fringe with the slip stitch of 1 stitch in the same main chain. You can see how the fringe looks like when it's fanned out, and this is how it looks like when it's completed. Now we just have to sew it on. Then to sew it on top of the head. Position the main chain in between the 2 horns so that the fringe falls both in front and behind the face. Then use whip stitch to sew down the fringe in between the horns. Continue to sew back and forth securely. You can see that the front part here is now sewn down. Then sew down the back part of the fringe. Remember to tie off and conceal any excess yarn. You can see that the fringe and the horn detailing are now done. I guess it's pretty obvious what this is, right? Stay tuned for the last part up next.